What do you do if they're getting on your nerve? How do you work Kemetic spirituality with people who are not on this path? That's what we're going to discuss today. Hetepu fam, peace and blessings. This is RauKhu. And in this video, we want to talk about how do you work Kemetic spirituality with people who are not on this path, okay? Before I begin, I want to go ahead and first of all say thanks. We are at 3,000 subscribers. That's not our intention. It wasn't our goal to actually try to get a bunch of people to, like us and all that kind of stuff. We just wanted to go ahead and basically just provide you with some clarification on some things that were kind of helping us, as I've mentioned before. I help myself by helping you all, and that's pretty much, for the most part, the shamanic way of doing things. And that's really what this channel is about. So again, thanks again for all you who've subscribed. Again, thanks for sharing your comments, suggestions, and questions with us as well. Today's video is by request. This is something that's been, I would say, has been on my mind, on my heart, for a few weeks or so. There was a few people who went ahead and they've sent me a message about this, and they wanted me to discuss this. And I want to go ahead and state first of all, I did not respond back to the message, mainly because I didn't want all your business being out there, for YouTube, everybody on YouTube to see it, okay? And that's the reason why I didn't respond back to your message. In the future, if any of you fam, if you have some, personal concerns, private concerns that you want to discuss with me or what have you, or you want to hear my take on it, in the future, visit thelandofcan.com, and on the contact page, go ahead and you can shoot me an email from there, or even on this channel, you can go to the About button and shoot me an email, okay? That way, like I said, everybody on YouTube is not seeing, everybody in the whole world is not seeing that you're having some private concerns or whatever, personal concerns that you want to discuss, and everybody sees what's going on, okay? So just like I said, in the future, if you can go ahead and you can do that, that way we protect your privacy from the trolls. Now, that being said, the question is, how do you work Kemetic spirituality with people who are not on the path? Okay. First of all, let me go ahead and state this. Everybody is on the path, all right? Everybody is on the spiritual path. Everybody is on the Kemetic spiritual path. The difference is you have some people who are on it directly, or some individuals who are on it directly, and you have other individuals who are on it indirectly, okay? You and I who are watching this channel, or who are on this channel, and you're engaged and you're trying to do things from this perspective, you are doing this from a Kemetic perspective. You're doing it directly, okay? The individuals that we may have married, that we work with, that are in our family, okay? All of these individuals who are not directly tied to the Kemetic tradition, they're not purposely or willingly doing things from a Kemetic perspective, they are on the Kemetic path indirectly, okay? This is all based upon the concept of Ma'at, that everything is all connected. So everyone's on it, okay? Everyone's on this path, all right? The issue when it comes to individuals, you're working it spiritually, here it is, you're doing a Kemetic thing, you're engaged in your studying, you're engaged in your meditation, you're doing, all kind of, practices and exercises to kind of control your temper and control certain things in regards to your person, all right? You're doing things from a magical perspective and everything. But yet you still have this individual who, what do you call it? who you're trying to help, and it's like it's just not going anywhere. All right. When you have that type of thing going on, okay, you kind of have to revert back to, I don't want to say revert, but you kind of need to go and deal with some mythology. All right. And let me explain that, and then I'm going to give you kind of some remedies in regards to how to deal with that. Every culture basically has a mythology. And the one thing about the Kemetic culture, the Kemetic people, they live for their society existed for thousands of years. So as a result, they were able to reach a level of consciousness that is reflected in their mythology, right? This is the reason why you see people who read Kemetic mythology, and they start off on the intellectual basis, and they'll stay there, all right? But those of you who know, the more and more you read the same legend, the same myth or so, it gives you a different insight based upon your level of consciousness, or based upon your level of consciousness. Okay, so you end up having, you can go ahead and you can see it from, the Kemetic legend from a strictly intellectual perspective, which is basically, for the most part, what a lot of the historians and archaeologists have seen it from. You can see it from a metaphysical perspective. You can see it from an energy perspective, okay? And then you get, so the more in depth you get into the mythology based upon that culture, it reflects it. So you can see it from an energy perspective, okay? In regards to, so that's the reason why from there, you can even see it from a spiritual perspective or a spirit's perspective, okay? And that's basically, like I said, that's Kemetic mythology. Other cultures who did not exist or did not live as long, their mythology is different from the Kemetic mythology because, again, it's a reflection of their consciousness and the consciousness that created it, but it deals with things from a different perspective, okay? So you don't have to go that deep to understand what it's actually talking about. All you have to do is be able to relate to it. Now, that being said, Greek mythology is not the mythology of gods and goddesses, right? It's not even supposed to be interpreted that way. Greek mythology is actually written for those individuals who are in the process of becoming a god and goddess. All right? So, in other words, Greek mythology is written for us. Now, I know we've heard people say this before, and I remember the first time I heard someone say that, I was like, okay, yeah, whatever, that doesn't make any sense. But the more and more I actually began to, like I said, I engaged and I invested myself in the Kemetic mythology and started to understand and see how it played out. Eventually I came to this conclusion that Greek mythology is our mythology. Now, hear me out. When I'm saying it's our mythology, I'm not saying it was written by this people or these group of people and all that kind of stuff. That's some superficial stuff. I'm not dealing with that. There's individuals who want to focus on that. By all means, go ahead and knock yourself out. I'm talking about from a God perspective. Okay? So, let me give you an example. Of course, give you a backstory as well. during the summer when I was a kid, my mother used to always go ahead and make my brothers and I make us, we basically went to summer school. We didn't actually go to a school, but we would go to summer school, and we practiced math and reading. I hated reading because she always gave me these books, or always took me to the library to read the quote unquote classics. And I couldn't stand it. Couldn't stand it at all until I started reading Greek mythology. As soon as I picked up Greek mythology, I became really, really engrossed in it. And I read every book on Greek mythology, Homer's Iliad, the whole deal. All right. And this was at a young age. All right. So from a base level, superficial level, that intellectual level, I kept looking at Greek mythology as, wow, Zeus is really out there. These Greek gods, they're really out there. They sleeping with these people and all this other kind of stuff. Wow, they're really out there. But the more and more I got engaged, or the more and more I, read the Kemetic mythology or Kemetic legends and myths, and started to see how they relate to my life, the more I started to see Greek mythology as being not a mythology, but my story. So when I see Zeus now, I understand Zeus does not symbolize, Zeus does not symbolize Osiris. Again, that's some base mythology. That's the base way of looking at it. Zeus is me. Zeus is you. Zeus is all of us who are on this God, in this process of becoming gods and goddesses. Zeus is all of us engaged with mortals. Mortals, in this case, are people who are unaware, the unconscious. All right. So when they talk about in Greek mythology, Zeus went ahead and was fascinated by this individual, fell in love with this woman or whatever, slept with this individual, and then had this issue. Okay. They're talking about you going ahead and being in love with a mortal. You're in love with the individual from a face value, from a physical value. You're not looking at them from a spiritual perspective or so. And as a result, you're having the problems just like Zeus had problems with them. Okay? And that's how you have to read the mythology now. All right? So Greek mythology deals with, basically, it's a reflection of the life that we are supposed to be living, or the life that we are living. Okay? So what does that mean? Put this in perspective. Basically, most of us who are all with someone who is on the Kemetic path indirectly, you're dealing with someone who is not on your level of consciousness, who is not at that state. Okay? They're not at that level. In other words, for instance, we all know someone who believes in taking a pill to heal everything, okay, without changing their diet, without trying to exercise, without trying to do anything in regards to self-improvement, but yet they'll take a vitamin, yet they'll take a supplement, they'll take a diet pill that's going to help them. They'll try to go ahead and take a diet pill that say, oh, this is going to help me become keto or what have you, but they won't change their diet. We all know somebody who does this. We all know an individual who is in our life like that, okay? And this is the reason why you're with them. Now, part of the reason why you're with them, like I said, relating this back to Zeus, part of the reason why you're with them is because you tried to do the Zeus thing, which in, let's say, current hip-hop terminology, we call Captain Save 'em, okay? You tried to, I'm not going to say that other part, but you tried to save this individual. You saw this individual, you were in love with them, you fell in love with them, quote unquote, You were fascinated by their beauty or whatever it is, all right? And as a result, you got with them and you either tried to save them or you're in the process of trying to save them, all right? And as you can see, it's not working, all right? So what do you do with that? What do you do with that, do with an individual like that? Basically, ain't nothing you can really do with them, okay? I mean, they're in your life for a couple of reasons. They're in your life because what they're supposed to do is learn from you, all right? Like I said, they're not on your level. And this is not anything to, stroke your ego and all that kind of stuff. It's just a simple matter of, it's just truth. They're not on your level, all right? And that's the reason why you're having conflicts with them, because you're cycling and you're cycling up, and they haven't figured out how to cycle yet, okay? So that's the reason why you're frustrated. That's the reason why you're racking your head. And you basically, for the most part, you have to go ahead and accept the fact they're in your life to learn from you, because eventually they're going to get it, all right? When they're going to get it, no one knows, okay? You can do a reading to find out how long it's going to take, but for the most part, like I said, no one knows, all right? And the reason why is because, remember, you can't save everyone, or better yet, you can't save anyone. They have to save themselves. So this is how they have to learn. In this lifetime, they're put in your life. And I'm not saying they were strategically put in your life. I'm saying there was a contract that was made before you incarnated for them to be in your life so that they can learn how to do things the right way. So yeah, you're going to get frustrated because they're not on your level. That being said, one of the things that you're supposed to learn is basically the real big thing, the real big lesson. There's a lot of things you're going to learn by looking at and observing this individual. But the one thing that you're supposed to learn is patience. And that's it. Just patience. All right? Don't get too engrossed. Don't get too involved in what's going on with them. You see, it's kind of like watching a child that you've told, don't do something, don't do this, because if you do it, this is what's going to happen, and they do it anyway. Well, it's like those of you who have children, you can tell a child, the same thing, don't do this, several times, but they have to eventually do it. Unfortunately, sometimes they have to eventually do it or make that accident. They have to fall in order for them to actually get up and understand what you were saying. Well, same idea here. All right. In this case, you are the parent. Now, I'm not telling you to go and, beat your spouse or beat your coworker over the head and act like a parent, or, act like a bully for that matter. What I'm saying is, on the conscious level, and when we're talking about conscientious and we're talking about being, a certain level of awareness, you're at the awareness of a parent, okay? And the way in which you have to behave, or the lesson you're supposed to learn, is basically you have to read the Greek mythologies. Read the Greek mythologies to see which role you're supposed to be playing. How do you deal with this individual? Don't take it personal. Look at it from a metaphorical perspective. If I'm Zeus and I'm fascinated by this individual, by the beauty of this individual, and this individual is driving me mad, you get what I'm saying? You got to look at it from that perspective. All right? Now, in regards to actually dealing with them, what can you do? The best thing to do, okay, and this is again coming back from Greek mythology, the best thing to do is basically you do your magic. because you can't force them to do anything. You can't, talking to them about everything is not going to get it. All right. So you basically have to do your magic. And the magic you have to do, it can be any magical system that you use, just as long as you are not lusting for the results. And that's the reason why, part of the reason why a lot of us, we kind of are losing it, going crazy, dealing with these individuals who are in our life, because we don't know how to deal with them, because we keep telling them, don't do this, or do this, making all these suggestions, and they go in a total, do the exact opposite of what we're trying to tell them or what we're suggesting for them not to do. So we got to learn how to, like I said, you got to learn patience, but you got to go ahead and deal with things from a magical perspective. That's how gods deal with things. And let me say it again. That's how gods and goddesses, I should say, that's how we deal with things. All right. But the key is patience, and you need to do a magical system or deal with a magical system that does not cause you to lust for results. Meaning, if you're dealing with a coworker and you're trying to, get along with this coworker because you got to get along with them for whatever reason, then whatever magical thing you do, whatever, whether it's candle magic, whether it's a jar spell, whatever, you have to do something, even if it's a meditation or so. You have to do something that's going to cause you not to be focused on when is it going to work? When is it going to work? Okay? Because as soon as you go ahead and you start focusing on when is it going to work, that lust for what we call lust for results, you're going to become impatient. And this is what's already happening to you now. You're becoming impatient. And the reason why, let me go back. The reason why you're becoming impatient is because you're at this higher level and you're trying to save them to get to that other level. Okay? So, to get to another level or that higher level with you. All right? And it's not going to happen. It won't happen that way. All right? So, you got to go ahead, do your magic, go about your business, and be patient. And that's how you deal with things from a Kemetic perspective. That's how you deal with people using Kemetic spirituality who are not on this path. Okay? So I hope that helps you. Hope that makes sense. You want more details and all that kind of stuff, feel free to drop me a line. Again, if you got any questions, comments, and suggestions, go ahead and contact me. Contact your boy. All right? Until next time, Hetepu, peace.
No pretending, baby.